So I'm starting with Bernini's work in the Vatican. So Bernini was born in 1598 and he died in 1680. He completed the St. Peter's Piazza in 1657 in the Vatican. This, along with the Baldacchino, were his final contributions to the St. Peter's Church, and they were the last contributions ever done. Bernini was internationally famous because he was multi-talented, he was a great architect and sculptor, and he was also a pleasant person, unlike Michelangelo. His work defines major characteristics of Baroque art. He had a sensitivity to human form, which can be seen in his David in 1623, and he's also a great architecture, so he has a really good sense for space and mass form, not just human form. Buildings around the church were torn down to make room to build the piazza, and it's a public square to worship and hear the Pope, but it's not just a flat square like most piazzas in Italy. It's actually encompassed by these two sections of round columns kind of thing, and that symbolizes the open arms of St. Peter's welcoming everyone into the piazza. And it's also a very dramatic entrance to a beautiful church. So he combines architecture and sculpture, especially through the Baldacchino, which was completed in 1633, which was quite a ways before the arms were built, like the actual piazza was built. And though this whole church was completed over centuries, it doesn't look like a mishmash of random pieced together styles. It still looks unified and really triumphal. So the Baldacchino is made of bronze. It's at the papal altar right under Michelangelo's dome that he built there. The canopy is 29 meters tall and it's cast in bronze. The columns are spiral and decorated with vine scrolls, which are inspired by Greek and Roman style. There are 4 angels at the top facing the 4 corners of the world. That's what that symbolizes. And there's a cross as well. And this Baldacchino structure is a combination of sculpture and architecture. It's used to frame not only the papal altar, but also it frames St. Peter's throne, which is behind the Baldacchino. But it's also a really nice sculptural structure with the angels and the vines. It's really beautiful. So the throne of St. Peter is 1666, also by Bernini in the Vatican. Like I said, it's framed by the Baldacchino, and it's his final contribution to the church. It's gilded bronze, marble, and stained glass. So surrounding the wooden chair believed to be St. Peter's throne, you can see the marble, the stained glass, and the gilded bronze. And on a sunny day or a sunny evening, the reflection of all the gilded components, especially through the stained glass, make a really heavenly, unreal kind of warm light. So Bernini's sculpture will be next. He, again, born in 1598, died in 1680. I'm going to be talking about David, which he did in 1623. It's made of marble. He carved it when he was young, and the figure of David is very dynamic. He's not at a standstill like Michelangelo's and Donatello's David. His spine is arched kind of back like this rather than like the S-curve contrapposto. And he has a lot of emotional intensity as opposed to the flat kind of or even serene happy faces of the past Davids. He is in motion, he's not still, he's preparing to cast the stone, he's winding up with his slingshot, and he sees Goliath. He's not nude, which is also rare in David's, and his pose is diagonal and twisting. It's frozen in motion, which is typical of the Baroque period. It also looks like he's gonna fall over. Like it looks like he's literally a real human form in motion. It's insane. The figure of David himself is a mature man, and he's not idealized like past Davids were. His face is even like grimaced in concentration. Like all of his effort is focused in the battle, and his gaze is really intense. His body's twisting, extending. It's like he's seconds before the attack. He's the first David in motion. Next is the Ecstasy of St. Teresa, also by Bernini, completed in 1652 in marble. So this is 5 years before he finished St. Peter's Piazza. This is in the Cornaro Chapel in Rome. Cornaro. He created the whole environment, so the marble, the fresco, the stained glass, and the gilded bronze. And it's designed for a small private chapel in Rome, which was the Cornaro Chapel. The ceiling has frescoes of angels in heaven among the clouds, really cute, whatever. The Cornaro family members are grouped in sculpture around St. Teresa and the angel. St. Teresa was a Spanish-educated Catholic girl. She wrote a lot of books. She was really intelligent. So the angel is piercing her heart with a golden arrow, and she's kind of in like this sweet, ecstatic pain. She's like swept away by this orgasmic pleasure, and it's kind of funny how Bernini combined pleasure and pain with erotic implications in a way that was still accepted in church. So St. Teresa's falling back, she's lifted on a cloud, her clothes are turbulent, which symbolizes the intensity of her emotion, and the angel has like this sweet tenderness and love on his face, or her face. And what's funny is the two figures are carved from the same block of marble, which kind of, it unifies them even more. They're both kind of moving in a really cool way, kind of one on top of the other, and they're from the same piece of marble, which kind of brings them closer together. And the figures are both kind of moving upwards toward the heavens, and the marble is supported by iron bars. There's a hidden window above the whole thing that illuminates those golden rays from atop, and it kind of casts a really nice golden glow from below. In the St. Peter's Church, where Bernini did St. Peter's throne, the windows are like blatantly trying to light everything up, but in this piece, in St. Teresa's Ecstasy, the light is hidden, so it's kind of, you don't know where the light's coming from. It looks like heaven. Okay, next is Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights. So Hieronymus Bosch was born in 1450, and he died in 1516 in the Netherlands. He had this fantastic bazaar. He was the most weird visionary artist of any age, and his work alone inspired the movement of Surrealism. He was the greatest Dutch painter of the 16th century. He had a lot of scary images, so skeleton, death reminders, images relating to alchemy, magic, and superstition. He created visions to teach moral lessons, and his works show his pessimism in his thoughts and in his life. So, according to him, humankind is fundamentally flawed since the expulsion of paradise, and there is no salvation for humans. The fate for us is eternal damnation. So the Garden of Earthly Delights, completed in 1515, is a triptych, oil on wooden panel, and it illustrates the realities and consequences of lust. The left panel is paradise, so it shows Adam and Eve being introduced to each other. There's the tree of knowledge, there are exotic animals, tree of life. It's beautiful, it's calm, serene, it's paradise, it's beautiful. The middle panel, which is the largest one, is man's lustful activities. So there are orgies going on, there are people in transparent balls, which symbolize alchemy, and there's chaos, there's greed, there's jealousy, there are giant strawberries, which symbolize, they also symbolize greed and lust. And the right panel is the punishment, which is eternal damnation, like I said. It's the result of the lust that Adam and Eve caused with their meeting. So because they met, that led to the fall of man. So the northern way of living is strict and unhappy. It's very regimented, no fun, no happiness, pessimistic. It's a different kind of faith. This work has extreme explicit sexuality, and it seems harmless at first, but there's a lot of church control going on at that time. It was bad times. So anyway, he painted the Tower of Adulteresses in the background of the middle panel in a pool of lust. There are horns, decorations around, and their husbands, which are being adulterated, are in the middle. And there are humans riding on animals circling the pool of youth, which is immoral. And the figures are naked and thin and young. They're really small. They're in transparent bells, like I said, which are alchemal vessels. And scholars think that Bosch depicts his dream world in this panel. It's mysterious. There's constant discovery. It's like a life that he never could have had. In the right panel, which is the punishment, there are musical instruments, and those were thought to cause more pain than pleasure because they are the work of Satan. Music is the work of Satan. There's a figure being crucified on the harp. I think it's on the bottom left corner. There's a seated demon on the bottom right eating a soul. There's a strange kind of white figure with an egg-like body in the middle of the panel, and the interior of that body looks like a restaurant, and the legs are tree trunks in a boat. So like I said, he inspired surrealism with kind of things that you would never see in real life. The white face of that figure is kind of mysterious. Who is it? Why is he there? Is it Bosch? It could be a self-portrait. So these are his horrific, weird, fantastic views of hell. Number 4. Arnolfini portrait. So this was painted by Jan van Eyck. He was born in 1390 and died in 1441. He came from a family of painters. This Arnolfini portrait was painted in 1434. He was the most prominent painter of Northern Europe. He is Flemish, so from Flanders. His focus was a lot on natural details. So we know that in Northern Europe, they didn't have the Italian Renaissance or Greek styles to go back to, old Roman times. So they had to come up with their new Renaissance by observing details that they saw in life. So they couldn't kind of be influenced by a previous realistic style. So they had to kind of come up with it on their own, like the Greeks and Romans did. So their focus ended up being less so on human realism in their form and more so on realism in details. And there were a lot of Christian symbols in Jan van Eyck's works. He was well known, had many had many patrons, and according to Vasari, as Gordana says, he invented oil paint and or refined and perfected it and gave it new possibilities for subtle gradations and more realistic renderings. He built images through several layers of transparent glaze, and he used tiny brushes to create perfect blending, transparent glow, richness in colors, and all that stuff. So in this painting, there are a lot of exquisite details, like the silk and the velvet drapery. There's like a magic of the northern light because, anyway. So there's high realism in the background and in the drapery. He was very meticulous in his details, and there's use of perspective in this work. So the thing about this portrait is Jan van Eyck saw that in real life, even though we're focusing on one item, in the background there are still details there, and he believes that the viewer is the one who chooses what to focus on, not so much that the painter chooses what to focus on. Like in Renaissance pictures, it's whatever's the focal point is painted most dramatically in highest contrast with the most details, and everything else kind of fades away. Jan van Eyck focused on details all over the work, so I thought that was really cool. He created different textures, fur, metal, wood, cloth, all that stuff. He used naturalistic precision, warm and cool northern light from the window on the left in this portrait. The light seems to settle on the figures' faces, their hands, the objects in the room, and the whole thing does gradually fade into a more shadowy background, but the detail is still there. The Arnolfini couple they're Italian, but they are modeled after Northern European models because he was a Northern European painter. Their clothes suggest that they were very wealthy, a noble couple, carefully matched, and they were very focused on their image. They were rich. So there's luxury in the furniture, the carpets, the drapery, the oranges, which were a rare fruit in Northern Europe, and they kind of symbolize fertility and fruitfulness and babies. And there's that dog in the foreground with all that detail in his fur, and that breed of dog was really rare then, and he symbolized fertility, and maybe the rarity of the dog maybe even symbolizes the rareness of... Did I say fertility? I meant fidelity. He could symbolize the rarity of fidelity in relationships, which is ironic because Arnolfini ended up cheating on his wife. So the male in this portrait is wearing fur-lined silk and velvet, and the female is wearing wool with elaborate designs and fur sleeves. The meaning is secular and religious. I don't know what that means. They are holding hands, which symbolizes their unity and their marriage. His hand is raised either to swear his oath to her or to greet whoever's coming in, which you can see in the back mirror. There are two other people in the room. Maybe he's greeting them. I don't know. So she holds her dress up. She's not actually pregnant. It suggests fertility and ripening, like the oranges, like I said. Their shoes off, which symbolizes the fact that they're on sacred ground. They're closer to the earth. The chandelier is elaborate, expensive, and there's one candle only in it, which is to be blown out right before the couple goes to bed for their wedding night. Haha. On the back, there's that mirror on the wall. I've heard two things. One thing that I heard is that those little circles that go all around it, actually, I'll show you. You can't really see it here, but the mirror has all those points around it. Inside each of those points is a circle. Gordana said that they have zodiac signs in them, but I saw, like, when I looked really close at a bigger picture, it's actually, and I did some research, it's actually scenes, like biblical scenes. And it symbolizes the all-seeing eye of God. So in the mirror there are two witnesses. They could be the witnesses signing the document, or maybe the painting is the document itself, because Jan van Eyck actually put names and dates above the mirror. So maybe the painting is the document of wedding himself, but there's no actual proof that this is the marriage. At the time, weddings were not really religious ceremonies, it's just like signing of a document. Next. Maids of Honor, Diego Velázquez. He was born in 1599 and he died in 1660. He is the greatest master of Spanish Baroque painting. His early work were scenes of everyday life, and he showed talent from early days. He qualified as a master painter as of 18 years of age, and he did powerful representation of individual characters in natural settings. He was highly influenced by Caravaggio in the clarity, strong chiaroscuro, and spotlights for added drama. He was really big, like I said, on naturalism and individual features. He did no idealization of his figures. He traveled to Italy to learn from Caravaggio. He learned about the texture and rendering objects fully to life. He created a lot of compositions with ordinary people in simple backgrounds. Like I said, naturalism and high contrast. He was a court painter, but he didn't change his style. He kept the realism, and he did not flatter royalty when he painted them. He kept them looking as they looked in real life. What was really honorable to him is that he was able to live in a house that was attached to the royal palace for 30 years in Madrid, and he was very close with the royal family throughout his life. So he painted the Maids of Honor in 1656. He was the master of realism that was seldom surpassed in Spain in that period. There's a glass of water being handed to Margarita, his 5-year-old princess daughter. The Spanish royal family, they like dwarfs for their kids. Like, there's a dwarf on the right. But what's kind of ambiguous about this painting is what Velázquez was really painting. Is it a painting of him painting the royal couple, which you see in the back mirror? Or is it a painting of... Is the back mirror reflecting what he's painting, and we are the viewer watching him painting it? And if so, then why are the kids interested in coming to see us? I think personally that it's the couple being painted, which you could see in the back mirror, and the kids are all coming to look. And in the background of the painting, there's that open door, which is really, really bright and illuminated. And why? Why is there that man standing there? I think it's to lead the eye back to the mirror, which is brighter than all the other canvases on the back wall. Because that way it draws your attention, like I said, to the mirror, and it has us consider what Velázquez is painting and who those people in the mirror are.